Welcome to Rebels with a Purpose, powered by the voices of Katapult X, who are mobilizing capital, technology, people, and heart to solve the world's biggest challenges. In this podcast, we pose 5 questions to leaders who are changing the world and its systems. I'm your host, Kate Byrne, CEO of Katapult X. Well, it all started here. Believer and big dreamer and rebel with a purpose, Tharald Nustad feels that every person can make impact and every business is a force for good, charged with building solutions that solve the world's biggest problems so that all may thrive. The founder of Katapult and its system, our accelerator, foundation, and media channel, Tharald embraces the X potential brought about when technology, capital, and people intersect. Tharald Nustad, the king of Rebels with a Purpose, co-founder of the Katapult System. It's so great to kick this series off with you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Terrific.
In Oslo, quite nice here now.
Yeah. So it's crack of dawn where I am out here, hence it's still very dark. But listen, I really kind of wanted to kick this series off with you because it was you and the founding partners who had this whole vision of the Katapult system. And what I've been asking everyone is I want to find out, can you share a bit about your path and the journey to creating the Katapult system overall and what really your goal and your purpose was with that?
Yeah, so I can give you a bit of background from me personally. I come from a real estate family in Norway. I've been a tech entrepreneur most of my life. And in 2010, I started work with Ashoka, and I saw that it's much more fun and better to help people making the world better than just build businesses. So I started investing in some social entrepreneurs and some impact tech businesses. And that's how I started. And then I met a lot of amazing people on the journey. I joined Tonic, I joined Nexus. I committed to 100% impact in 2015, so 6 years ago. I said everything I invest in, and all my capital and all my work is going to go into making the world a better place. And that's how we started then Nordic Impact as an investment entity to invest in impact tech startups. And we started Katapult in 2015 with Katapult Futurist and Katapult Accelerator going online in 2016-17. So that's the start. I had some. My family was always very into making society better. So from my grandfather building big real estate entity, but really focusing on how do you make people live better as a first way of priority for the business. Then my mom started a clean tech venture arm in 1990s, a bit early, but and then a foundation working with the Global South. So I've been exposed to impacts and philanthropy my whole life, but I didn't catch interest till 2010.
Yeah.
And then starting Katapult, the idea was that we need to mobilize more people into the positive future that we want to build, and really to combine exponential technology, impact investing, and consciousness, mobilize technology people and tech for a better society for all.
So talk a little bit about the whole idea and the flywheel thinking behind the whole Katapult system.
Yeah, so the Katapult system is built of 2 main parts. You have the Katapult Foundation, which is the non-profit, where currently I donate to build a non-profit initiative to mobilize people, capital, and tech for good. And the Katapult Foundation does educational initiatives. They do programs to mobilize people and build communities. And also Katapult X, which is the main initiative under the Katapult Foundation, including Katapult Futurist, is the more communication, community, and collaboration entity, where we are now building up more of a community platform, token strategy, and convenings and collaboration initiatives. We have other programs under Katapult Foundation that works on more ethical AI. How do you secure that technology is used for good and not for bad, and also education around tech for good. And then we have the other arm is the for-profit Katapult group. That is where we have the Katapult Accelerator. We started 5 years ago as a world-class startup accelerator focused on impact tech startups. So we built that as a mechanism to find the startups around the world that solve problems at the core of the business and use technology to both scale and solve the problems better, and to help them and invest in them to really scale their solutions and make a big impact and also make good profits and returns for the investors. Then we started Katapult Ocean 4 years ago as a sector-focused entity, both investing and having an accelerator program, boosting the startups and helping them get more success and more impact in the ocean space. And this year we started Katapult Climate as a entity that focuses on anything climate solutions, where we both invest and support the startups. We are also now launching Katapult in Africa. We're starting in Kigali, Rwanda, with an accelerator program focused around food and ag tech and climate technology, where we see that the need for new solutions in the African continent is enormous, and the impact that needs to be created is huge. But there's also an enormous market opportunity and potential for innovation and new solutions. So that is why we also have a bigger focus on Africa, and we have a project in Mauritius around innovation, sustainable innovations, also in food ag, where we want to be part of empowering people and making people build solutions that can really provide positive impact, where there's going to be a lot of people that needs new solutions. So that is the main elements of the Katapult group, which is for-profits programs with investment funds connected to it. So that's that's the main elements of the Katapult system, and it's all built to work together to mobilize capital, to mobilize people, and to mobilize technology to make a thriving world for all.
Wonderful. So interesting tact that you've expanded into Africa. Are there thoughts, or are there other geographies that you're interested in that, I'm sure, given the success that you've had, right, with Ocean and some of these other endeavors, are there other areas that you're kind of excited to explore and bullish on?
Well, I mean, Africa is a big focus
Huge.
for us. We do have quite a lot of startup investments in Latin America, and we do see also that in India and Southeast Asia, there's a lot of need for new solutions. So I'd say we are interested in helping solutions and business in all these areas. Of course, we are quite strong in Europe and the US, where it's more developed, the whole ecosystem around startups and technology. So I would say that I really believe that the kind of broadness of both, Latin America, North America, Europe, Africa, India, and Asia in general is important, because you have different solutions and different needs, so that you can really find different solutions that you can scale around the world. So I don't have a very clear, this is the
Yeah.
most exciting thing, but we want to solve problems all around the world.
So, One thing I know that you deeply believe to your very core, and with that background, it totally makes sense because the whole notion of impact and social impact is literally in your DNA. Is that within every person there is an impact maker, a change maker, and every business can truly be a force for good. Because otherwise, why would you be in business if you're not creating a solution, right, for one of the world's problems? What is it about technology specifically? Because I know that you're really rooted in that as well. And I tend to agree with you in terms of the power uh, and the exponential piece that I think technology brings to the situations we find ourselves in. But in your mind, what is it about technology that you think is is got that special sauce?
Um, I think that, first of all, any business that's going to survive in the future needs to solve a problem for people or planet. I think that's the core of just being a sustainable or like profitable business. I do believe that that is really not only for making the world a better place, but also for making better business. And I think technology is an important element in that because technology has the ability to scale and make things spread more and make a better business and better impact all over the world. And also, technology has the ability to solve problems that were previously unsolvable. So we can make new solutions that solves new problems. And I think the combination of those two makes it an essential part of scaling new solutions.
So one thing that I've noticed that keeps coming up in various conversations, out in the marketplaces, there is this fear, and I of technology. People, there's still this deep question: technology, friend or foe, especially when it comes into a specific category, say like an AI. How can we get people beyond that?
So I think that um, it is we do have threats in technology, and we have things that we need to watch out for, and we need to both look at the negatives potential and the positive potential of technology. And I do believe that technology is part of the solution for the future, but we need to also be aware of the negatives, and we need to manage that. But I do think we have in our world of impact, sustainability, and consciousness, um, there is a divide between the people that think we have to go back to nature and do like not scale technology, and the people that think technology is the only solution. I think we need to understand that technology is part of the solution, but so is connecting between people, collaborating and connecting to the earth at the same time as using technology as an enabler to solve the problems and build a thriving world for all. So I think we need to be aware of the negatives, but also bridge the kind of divide that is either or.
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely a not even a both and, but it's an all and. Because I think you're right. It's that trifecta. You need the tool, you need the person behind the tool, but at the base of that person, you need that consciousness and that, I think, connection and recognition of, frankly, the cause and effect that can happen when you do short term thinking. So, with that in mind, what have been some of the biggest surprises you've seen over the last 5 years since starting Catapult?
Well, there's been a few. I think that in general, when we started, like sustainability and impact was not so widespread, and I think the momentum and the speed at which things have changed, where now almost everybody's talking about sustainability and the green shift is very positive. It's happened much faster than I thought, even though there's still a lot of lip service and fluff and greenwashing. There is real momentum and action, and I think that that is really, yeah, that's been much faster than I expected. And I think also the combination that we promote using technology to solve problems and building profitable tech for good startups is it's come a long way, longer than I expected. So I'm quite happy about where we are, and then I think we still have a ways left to go, where we can make all business and all technology work for solving a problem and then making profit from solving problems.
Right. And I think, the cool thing about making sustainable tech for good companies, and frankly, the leaders within them, is when they exit, then they can become the next generation of impact players. And hopefully, so can all of the other employees that exit along with them. So it becomes this regenerative wealth factory as well, and wealth in the sense of also for the planet.
Yeah,
So,
and that's very much a part of what we believe is the importance of these tech for good startups, where both the founders can circulate their capital, but also the investors that then provide impact through the investments, but then get more back that they can reinvest and recirculate the capital for more impact.
so along those lines, and I know it's a big debate, the whole notion of regenerative or sustainable investing and ESGs and all of that. Where do you stand with all of that?
Well, I think sustainable investing is a really good thing, and it's a bit, I would say, unclear what people put into the word. So, I mean, in general, there's a lot of momentum around sustainable investing and SDG investing, impact investing, and it's all good. In general, I do still see that sustainable investing is a lot seen as kind of reducing the negatives and making sure you don't pollute too much or harm too much. While what we're looking for is really solving problems with the business and building profits from the impact you do. And I still think we have a ways left to go there, but there's so many businesses and investors and people want to engage in sustainability is a great thing, and regeneration that's really has started coming in for fall now is a very positive thing where I actually think beyond just reducing negatives, but actually regenerating the positives. So I think it's a good momentum. We still have some ways left to go to actually all working to solve the problems, but it's a good trend.
I guess you always have to kind of keep moving things forward, so you keep moving the carrot forward, and that's what keeps people really engaged and in the game. So when you're looking at it, what has happened faster than you expected? And then on the flip side of that, what hasn't happened that you thought for sure by now would have?
I say, as I mentioned, the the sustainability focus and people want to work to solve the problems and invest in that has gone much faster than I expected. I think that's a good thing. I do think that COVID has also been in the last 5 years a pretty strong force that has changed things, and I think in general I would say technology and the technology disruption that we think is going to happen has happened slower than maybe we thought, which is quite common that you overestimate the effects in the short term and you underestimate the effect of the long term. It's pretty exponential standard that things go slow in the beginning and faster long term. But I think that's something that, yeah, there are definitely a momentum building, but it hasn't happened as fast as some of us expected. I think the COVID also has done something that I think is extremely important, and that's to show us that we as humanity can change our behavior in a day. And that happened in March 12th when COVID hit. Pretty much everybody stopped traveling, and we all started using Zoom or Teams or other digital communication tools. And that we can actually change that fast is a very positive thing for me to know, because I do think we need to change fast. I do believe we're at the pivotal point in time where the world can either go to hell really fast if we don't do anything, or we can actually fix it together. But technology and communication enables us to be able to influence that and actually do something about it, and that's quite unique in our history. So I do think that we need to understand that it's possible to change, so that we can then figure out the ways to change and make humanity come together and solve the problems together.
Has I agree, we're on that, definitely on that top of that. It could go here, 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 who knows, any day, where depending on where the wind blows. So to that end, how did COVID impact you with, in terms of, we've kind of mentioned a couple of times, just in terms of consciousness and really kind of, uh, I know you're a dad, you're a lot of things, right? How, how do you notice that it's changed you or opened your eyes, and how you live, how you interact with partners or even consider collaboration, that kind of thing, and sort of working with others, and also the role of consciousness within being a business leader?
Um, I would say I number one, I live in Norway, and it's been quite nice to live in Norway. Or in COVID, I moved to my farm with the kids in nature, so it hasn't been super stressful, but I have been, of course, isolated and not seeing so many people. I do think that in general, it has made me think, and I think most people were to think, what am I doing? Is it the right thing? Where is the world going? I've been on the journey thinking about that for 10 years, so it wasn't like a new thing for me to start to think, how can I actually solve problems with my time and capital? But I do think that it created a more perspective on where we are in the world, and the urgency of actually joining together and solving problems together. So I think it's been not a good experience, but it's been important for me, and I think for most people in the world to actually reflect on what are we doing. And then I think, as I said, the element that things have changed faster, humanity has changed in behavior faster, is a positive thing. And I do think that it has made me also learn that I can connect with people all across the world and collaborate without actually flying around. So that's a good thing, that even though it's not the same, I do miss meeting people. And if something happens when you meet people that you can't replace with digital, you can do a lot and you can connect a lot more with people digitally.
So, to that end, and the new way we're interacting with one
Just
another, and yeah, sure.
no, just to follow on a little bit on that, I do think that what COVID has shown us is also that we all live in the same world, and we are all affected by the same problems, and that you can't just isolate in your little country and say that's the other people's problem. So that we need to fix the world together, and we're all in the same boat. And I think that's a very important thing to realize, that this is not about just like Norway being a very wealthy, well off country can just ignore the problem and do the best for us. We need to collaborate all together across the world.
I think that's beautifully put. The problem of one is the problem of all, really, in some shape or form. So, what I was curious about was, um, so now that we have this new workplace, in essence, right, and we have this new world interaction, hopefully, you've talked a little bit about the necessity for this notion of, this epic narrative. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I think that where we are, as I mentioned, that we are in a pivotal place in the history of the world, where things can change in either a very negative way or in a positive way. And for the latter to happen, we need to pull together. We need to elevate everybody to be participating in making the positive change, and we need to make people understand and learn that both what they can do and to how to be part of that. So that's why I think we need to uh, make a narrative that makes people feel and understand that they actually have an influence and can be part of this, and the urgency of actually making a change. Because if we don't make a change, it'll not look good for or be good for any of us.
No, because we will not really be around anymore. So, in your mind, looking out on the horizon, and you have so many different companies, walking by and spending time with you. What are some of the most interesting technologies and areas that are really, top of mind for you, that are getting you really excited?
Um, well, I think that I really like, disruptive technologies that haven't really come to fruition yet. But I mean, of course, machine learning, AI, quantum computing, and I would say crypto, blockchain. Um, there's a lot going on in material science. All these are very exciting, but there's also a big risk with them, and we need to harness them for good. And I do think that we haven't really managed to utilize it for the positive impact that they can. But I think especially around crypto, there is so much innovation going on and so much potential. A lot driven by greed because some people are getting rich from it. So I think that there's going to be a lot of innovation and a new ecosystem building around that that's going to hopefully be a strong force for good.
Yeah. So in your mind, if you were to tell people, like, aside from the technology piece, what are three other areas and things that you think people should really be paying attention to? So is it, education? Is it the impact of art and what that can be, within creating innovation and as a world problem solving uh, opportunity or experience?
Uh, well, I do think education is the most important element because we have 7 billion people on this earth. And what we want to help enable is to make everybody be part of being a change maker together, collaborating on solving problems. And for that, we need to both engage people, we need to elevate their competence and knowledge, and enable them to be part of collaborating on making a positive future. And I do think that the awareness that we are all in the same boat here, that we all need to pull everybody along at the same time as collaborating, and if we can make a percentage of those 7 billion people be Elon Musk, that we can solve a lot of problems in the world. So I think that the education and the kind of like awareness connection is the important elements.
Cool. And then what would you actually tell, or what would you like to encourage all future tech entrepreneurs out there, um, or all really sort of more scientific or technologically oriented students out there? What would you like to challenge them with, or a call to action for them?
Well, I would say number one, find the big problem that you want to solve for people or planet. Number one, that's going to be much more rewarding for you personally. It's going to be also better way of making business or whatever like you want to achieve. And yeah, I think. Can you repeat the question? Or
Yeah, sure, sure, sure. So I was just curious, like, it's almost like, what do you wish you had said to your younger self, right? That kind of thing. Like, what do and for younger people, what I've encountered so much of, because my kids are now 22 and 26, right? And they're so worried that they're not going to get their career right.
yeah,
And that if they screw up now, it's done and over for the rest of forever. And I'm just curious, because you've had different iterations of yourself. So what would you say to the future, to frankly, the future leaders and future talent and future creators and future founders and future problem solvers that you wish someone had said to you?
I think I would say number one, find the big problem you want to solve for people or planet. That is the most important thing. It's going to make you both feel better, have more fun, and also have a better career or business or success. Engagement, passion is important, but also to understand that the world is changing faster and faster, and it will be changing much more faster. And being able to learn, to adapt, collaborate, and solve problems together is going to be the most important skills. And those are not something you learn in school in general, and you need to always improve and update that. So you're not too late if you don't do the right thing first thing you do after school.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to try. Just get a start, take a
Yeah.
step in the right direction. And I think for a while, so many people were critical of this whole notion of, either, I don't want to call it job hopping, but millennials, they don't stick with anything. I actually understand that method of thinking. And I would rather have someone jump in and then realize, oh my gosh, not for me, and then go into something else, to your point, where they're going to be happier in the long run. And then, which means they're probably long term going to be able to solve more problems.
Yeah, but also I think that another one there is that it used to be that specialization was the best way to go, which it still is for certain things. but
Hmm.
also a kind of broad understanding of many different sectors and skills is more and more important, because kind of what we believe is that we're going from an industrial society and industrial education system where learning something and doing it more and more efficient at the same time over and again is the most important thing, built around the Model T factory assembly line when the industrial revolution was happening, to a world that's going to change faster and faster and faster, and you're never going to approach the same problem probably exactly the same way. So we need to be much more good at looking at different ways, collaborating with other people, and solving new problems. So that whole skill is based upon learning, problem solving, and knowledge and collaboration. And that is in that space, it's also important not to just be specialized at doing one thing really well, but understanding a lot of different spaces and making those combine to solve problems with other people.
Exactly. And you raise a really good point. I think that goes back to the whole point, too, for the need of being conscious and present, right? So that problem went past. You can bring the knowledge that you have with it, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's not a cookie cutter, one size fits all kind of, oh, this is model F solution. You really have to be open to kind of stretching and figuring out what's needed at the time.
Exactly. And I
So,
think
uh,
being conscious and present, and being aware of yourself, the situation, but also being conscious and connected to other people, and understanding how you can work together to solve problems, and of course connected to the plant. I think those are all interconnected, and you don't any longer just do the same thing over again. I know this job, I'm going to keep doing it the same way, because that's what AI and computers are amazing at. That's what they can do. We should do things that are more problem solving together, which they are not so good at yet.
you know what that just made me realize is there's so many people who just, to your point, keep rote doing the same thing. And that's how you get in a rut. And that's what then makes you miserable. And that, we know that whole downward spiral. So really, a way of looking at AI in a lot of ways is, oh my gosh, you can take all the drudgery away, and now I can be free to kind of create, have fun, and have less borders and boundaries, which I think
Exactly.
is such a. I think there are a lot of people that say they want to be free and they want all this, but at the end, I think they actually, in a way, have become so comfortable. They like those borders. They don't want to admit it, but then it keeps them kind of stuck in their place, and they don't have to be as creative, and therefore maybe be as vulnerable as they take a risk and try something new.
Yeah, I think that's true. People, and me also, I like being comfortable and knowing what I'm doing. It's always a little bit challenging not knowing how to solve a problem, but that's what we need to be good at. And I think there's also a lot of problems with people having learned too much about you doing it this way, and they don't then know how to actually solve problems in a different way. So they get stuck in the old thinking. So the whole how do you adapt and relearn and find new solutions is a very important skill that I think people need to learn in the future.
And that kind of makes me think about play, the importance of play or playful nature. And I know that's really core to Catapult Future Fest.
Yeah.
So, so talk a little bit about the Future Fest.
Well, I think for me, when I committed to um, 100% impact 7 years ago, 6, 7 years ago, to my work time and my capital, basically most of my life or my life to positive impact for the people and planet. I also decided if I'm going to commit my life to this, I'm also going to have fun doing it, because if I don't, I'm going to be bored and I'm not going to be able to keep doing it. So that's
Right.
why fun and play and a kind of positive attitude of yes, we can, that we can actually solve these things together, that there is big threats in the future, but there is also the potential to solve it and have fun doing so, being with other amazing people, working to solve problems is really core to what I believe, and I think we have embedded into Catapult both the Future Fest and the Catapult Accelerator. That all the different elements of Catapult that we do, we focus on. We need to have a good time solving problems together with other amazing people, because if you don't do that, both it's going to be boring, but you're also not going to have the energy to keep going.
And I also know that when you come from more of a lighthearted place, that makes so much room for true innovation as opposed to just iterative, a wee bit better. And I think that's what is kind of interesting right now is we've gone from a place of, iteration where we really need true like transformation, like take it down to dirt and do deep systemic change. The only
Yeah.
way we're going to do that is if we allow ourselves, I believe, to be more free and open. And frankly, you know, I don't like the word mistake because I don't think of anything really as a mistake. I think an outcome that I wasn't expecting. But there's always a learning from that. So the more that people can get more and more comfortable with that, it seems to me,
Yeah, yeah,
the
I
better
think
off.
you're right in that perspective that without a kind of playful attitude and a curious attitude, you will only find incremental solutions and you won't be able to actually explore the unknown, which is needed to have system change and more transformative solutions. So I think that um, on the Catapult Future Fest, should I tell a bit more about that, or you said?
Yeah, please do. I really would love everyone to hear your your vision and everything about it from you.
Yeah, okay. So the Catapult Future Fest is the first Catapult entity we started. We started planning it about 6.5, 7 years ago, and we wanted to combine kind of impact investing, technology, future society, uh, making the world a better place together in a festival that was fun and experiential. My goal was to combine kind of SoCap as a big impact investing conference with a Singularity University as tech, uh, cutting edge tech with Burning Man as a way of having the creatives and the collaborative society together. So we started out actually 5 years ago. Almost soon was the first iteration. We had about 500, 600 people together at the event space. That was quite yeah, nice venue to have this experience that was not only about showing amazing people talk about the future technology and impact investing, but also to connect and collaborate. So we have been doing it 3 years. Then Catapult Future Fest 920 was put on digital and called Catapult Cloud in 2020. I'm quite happy with the event because we managed to get people from all over the world, thought leaders, impact investors, tech entrepreneurs, to come and have a good time learning and collaborating. And I think there's always a lot of projects started, connections made, and people that are moved to doing more positive impact together. And my goal is to have it be a place where people can come and they can both learn and change their mindset or understand what to do in the future, but also have deep connections and participate and be part of doing things, experiencing good things, and building projects, solving problems in the future.
Two things that stand out to me for Future Fest from the very get go that I believe were very pioneering in nature was this whole notion of not being spoken at and talked at, that everyone, whether you're on a stage or a dais or a panel or what have you, and in the audience, everyone is a speaker. Everyone plays a role, and there's really that sense. So when people come, wow, I matter. I don't have to be the big name, marquee person. I still matter. I play a role. And that's one thing. The second thing is that experience piece. So much of today, I think everyone they're so tired of, there's been a lot of talk and not a lot of do. And one of the cool things I feel with Katapult, of course I'm biased, is rolling your sleeves up and kind of getting dirty in the muck, right? And kind of playing and slapping around with it. And I just, I really appreciate how that has remained so core throughout all these years. And if anything else, is just going to get more and more, it's going to get more and more playful, more and more interesting. You know, the sandbox is getting bigger and bigger. And I can't wait to see what happens at KFF 22, which I will say is happening May 10th through the 13th in Oslo, Norway.
Yeah, I'm very excited for that too. And I think that's core for us, is to not have a thing. You should get like filled up with new knowledge and understanding. We should have some content that really makes you like, whoa, that was important. But that there should be also a lot of that going on through direct one-to-one or group communication and connections, and that there should be collaboration and participation. So the whole not a show to be like a spectator at, but to be a participant in experience, and also to do stuff is really important for us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, you know, for everyone listening, that's this entire series is really built on from conversations with this broad array of community members who are, in fact, everyone from a quantum physicist to next week's guest, who is a cultural shaman, to a founder of Tonic, an AI expert, someone who's leading the charge in data. And the way we treat it as a potential way of reinventing the whole financial system. So I'm really excited and proud, frankly, to be a part of this whole community. So, final question, sir. Call to action. What would be your rebel yell? Hey, everybody. Beep, 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 beep.
Rebel yell. Well, I would say we are in a situation where there's been some rapid changes lately. COVID has precipitated some rapid changes. There was a momentum before that towards, I would say, division and polarization, which is not good, where different countries are more opposed to each other, more split between the populations in different places. So I would say we need to now realize we're all in the same boat. We need to get together, collaborate on solving big problems together, and really think, how can we make the human population come together to solve the problems. And I think, of course, part of that for me is a big thing on technology and using technology for good, at the same time as protecting from negatives, but also using capital and business as drivers for good. I do believe that's core of how we can actually solve the problems in the future and make a positive world for all, is that business and capital need to work for solving problems. And I think that's going to be better for both the business and capital owners.
I couldn't agree more. Well, listen, Tharald Nustad, co-founder of the Katapult System, thank you so much for kicking the series off. I really am excited to see what Katapult does, not only here, but also what it inspires people to do. And I just really appreciate you for having the courage to step out and start it and stick with it, even when it gets, messy, but that's part of the fun.
Thank you. We're just getting started, and we are going to have fun, mobilize more people.
Awesome. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Kate Byrne with Katapult X. Thanks for downloading our podcast, Rebels with a Purpose, available wherever you get your podcasts. Look out for our next conversation with Adah Parris, futurist, artist, and cultural shaman, and we'll look at the future of work and the role that art plays within it. If you like what you hear in this series, join us in person at our upcoming Futurist event. Yep, we're back in Oslo, Norway, May 9th through the 13th, 2022.